Hello, my name is Janice B. Gordon, and this is Scale Your Sales Podcast. Welcome to Scale Your Sales Podcast, listed number 9 of 43 best podcasts for every sales professional. I am Janice B. Gordon, the customer growth expert, awarded RevTech strategist of 2024. In this week's episode of Scale Your Sales Podcast, my guest really powers down on the power of data, KPIs to reveal sales performance gaps and improve buyer experience. She highlights how detailed metrics like conversion rates, pipeline health, and buyer feedback are absolutely essential where deals are stalling and where sales teams need support. But beyond the numbers, we agreed that mindset and people remain absolutely critical. Without them, the data isn't interpreted correctly, the sales stack isn't fully utilized, or it's the wrong ones that's purchased. We really talked about how you have the transparency and the focus at the same time. So you're going to love this conversation. My next guest is a revenue operations executive and advisor, the GTM strategy leader with over 15 years of experience in B2B SaaS. She specializes in scaling startups and aligning cross-functional teams and transforming insights into execution. Known for her strategic vision, operational rigor, and data-driven leadership across marketing, sales, and customer success. Welcome to Scale Your Sales Podcast, Leore Spira.
Welcome. Thank you.
It's fantastic to have you on Scale Your Sales podcast. I'm really got a whole host of questions that I would love to get in with you. And the first one is really about ensuring the sales organization is aligned. Now, I know from your experience, you've kind of started from scratch and built a whole sales operation from zero. So, I know that you're going to have a real perspective here in terms of achieving revenue goals and aligning the people, the process, and the technology. So what would you say would be the starting point and the key areas to ensure success?
I would say again, and I think first I have to emphasize that, throughout my career, I changed my best practices based on how companies are growing, how the ecosystem is evolving, how the business is designed based on the either relationship or the type of engagement that we see, or even motion that we see. But basically, what I would do at first is before I go and start implementing or start designing something, first I'm trying to understand what would be what would be the best foundation. Meaning, like how I'm interviewing or I'm speaking with the key stakeholders within the organization, just to understand exactly like what they are used to do or what they are doing in order to translate it later to something that is measurable and something that basically, if we choose, let's say, a platform like a CRM, and it can be like Salesforce or HubSpot, and or any type of other CRM that fits like the type of like the book of business of the company. But basically, translate to something simple and something that we can measure in a way that will help us get insights immediately, and and again, not overcomplicating things, right? We want to make sure that we have like a scalable sales process, and if not, it will allow us to modify ASAP, like when we see any type of I don't know, um bottleneck or issue, or even we find out that we have a new stage that we want to measure and we want to track and we want to see trends, because it helps with not just conversion rate, like the key metrics, it also helps with how we see and how we analyze and how we operate within the deal. So this is what I would do.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to have these conversations because first, communication is key, and second, like we're not building something for us for ourselves. We're not building something or a process for the for management or leadership. We're building something for the end users. So we want to make sure that they know and they understand and they provide the details of the process, because eventually by that or from that we will generate whatever we need to do for every type of group within the organization.
Do you know, I really think that you've made an interesting point here, in that it seems to be one of the keys is transparency,
Correct.
and also focus as well. And I think the other, we often have systems for us, don't we? The managers want to measure, so they create all of these systems, and it actually just complicates things. And I think the point that you've made is not only having that transparency for adaptability, which is absolutely key in 2025 now. Earrings just dropped off. Better take the other ones, otherwise I'll be lopsided. But also being able to not only that adaptability, but being able to react very quickly to what's going on, keeping it really simple. We're living in a VUCA complex world, but the
Yeah.
systems we use are often also very complex. So the simpler you can keep it, the better for everybody. And then the other one was about the focus on, we're working for our customers. We're here for our customers. So it's got to be transparent and work for them first. And I
Correct.
absolutely agree with that. And I think that we often lose sense of that within our industry.
Correct. I think again, so for the first point, like we have and again, this is why revenue operations, now we grew from sales operations to revenue operations, because right now we're not just responsible or supporting just a sales organization, we're supporting the customer journey. So it's just like we have, and again, it's not just that we have more responsibility, it's because it's essential to understand exactly how our customers, right? Or how the pre-sale, and pre-sale can be not just from the sales side, but also from marketing, right? From top of the funnel, like how it operates, and if it operates in efficient way or not, like what we can do to improve it. And instead of just being reactive, we can also be proactive. And this is why it's important to build stuff or to bring and again, it's not that I'm convincing founders or C-level or like management, like to bring operational excellence person to the organization at a very early stage. But from a personal experience, I've joined companies in different stages, early stage and then more advanced one. And you can see the difference, because you can focus at first, in building the foundation, and then grow within the process, be proactive, grow with the data, with the metrics, with the behavior of our customers, with the behaviors of our go-to-market teams. Or you can just, if you join a company like at a very advanced stage, and then you just like be more reactive, because you need to always analyze and fix the historical data and make sure that everything is correct and there are no glitches or no, I don't know, data hygiene like becomes so like important, and then you're too focused on being reactive instead of proactive. And so but again, I think it's a work in progress, and companies are realizing that, but it's still and I can totally understand why they first prefer to invest in the go-to-market teams themselves. But once they understand that we are part of the go-to-market organization, like an essential and critical one, this would allow them, to stop being so reactive every time. And the second point regarding the second point is, I think what's go-to-market leaders need to understand is it's not just the focus. Transparency creates the focus, because if you're transparent and if you are, and again, transparency is not just again transparent to yourself, or like to be like able to see the data and act upon it, right? It's also making sure that everyone else within the organization, even like the AE or the BDR, for example, an SDR, right? if everyone is exposed and there is transparency of the data for everyone to understand exactly how we are doing as a company, as an organization. And it's not just, and you don't, and I'm not, and for transparency, it's not like if I'm meeting my quota or if I like how much of like the amount of compensation that I'm going to get. We don't care. It's about KPIs, right? If there is enough, if we are contributing as an organization to the pipeline generation, and we are all like we have the visibility to see it, and then you move forward together as an organization within the pipeline. This is how you also create the focus, because then you understand, like, as a team, right? As a go-to-market teams, we need to focus on this initiative, let's say pipeline generation, and how everyone contributes to that. So it can be like the marketing for the like for everything that inbound motion, right? We have the SDRs and BDRs for outbound motion and other prospecting initiatives that we can execute, sorry. And then you have like the sales team, right? They can also go and hunt. And then you have the customer success to push more for upsell and expansion opportunities, right? So everyone contributes eventually to the company growth. And this focus, well, as I see it, first must come from the data, right? But also, if you are making sure that everything transparent, if you are building the foundations in the right way, if you are following the process in a way that you are data driven, and you monitor your key metrics, if not on a daily or monthly basis, but at least quarterly basis, right? You can also make sure that you are focused, because if you're not focused, then again, you can be proactive and just shift whatever you need to wherever you need to shift, right? You don't even need to go to, I don't know, to have like a QBR, right? At the end of the month, you say, oh, okay, so now we analyze the QBR, like with the quarter. These are the results. This is what we did, postmortem of every deal, blah, blah, blah. And then, everything becomes more and more complicated. Like, you can be proactive on historical data, but on the go. And you can also be reactive when it's needed. And this is how you maintain like a focus.
So I think it's interesting, many of the words you use, talking about data, QPRs, KPIs, the focus being that decisions we make is based upon that data, and the data, whether it's legacy data and being reactive or being more proactive in kind of building it as you go. So that was kind of a sense of much of what you talked about. Recently, I wrote an article about heart and head, and the balance of data and technology with people and empathy in sales, because it's still people that work the systems, that interpret the data, that without people, the data and the technology doesn't work. So my question to you is, around that ongoing tension, based upon what you opened with, it's very analytical approach to the GTM. So what would you see in terms of sales organization over index on tools and dashboards, and how you can balance that with kind of heart, people, and empathy? What's your experience there?
So from previous experience, and I think, like, I had these conversations with colleagues and peers with like within my companies, or friends in around the globe, right? But as I said, like, I don't, again, like, dashboards are great, like data is great, but eventually nobody reads, nobody, like, it's super difficult, I would say, to follow up and monitor dashboards and work with the process and analyze it and making sure. And again, usually I see different things, or I monitor different things. Like, I had a conversation with my CEO just a few minutes before this session, and he sees key metrics and processes, or the sales process even, like in a different way or language, or how he wants to um, um, deliver it to either investors, right, versus like the company, and then you have like the go-to-market leadership who sees it differently, and then you have the ICs, right? So eventually what as I see it, and I'm trying it even today within my company, is using AI. And I'm not saying that in like a key, like like a buzzword, or everyone is talking with AI. I don't think it's gonna even replace us. It's not gonna, I don't believe like in a AI SDR, AI AE. Like, people are important. Like, you need the people for the process. You need the people to have to maintain or to start relationship. You need them for the process, because no one, like a robot cannot replace it. But once you have tons of reports and dashboards, this is where you get lost in translation, right? But then you have the tools, and you need to, and this is what I do right now. First of all, before I choose any tool and build a tech stack within the go-to-market organization, I always make sure that I have one or two stakeholders within from the teams themselves, to join the demos and understand exactly if this answers the need, the pain that they feel, or they will provide an added value to their day-to-day, right? And also with AI, I think like we need to find and bring tools that will simplify everything. Like having like a BI tool with all the dashboards and analysts, and just every time, change it, modify it, build something new because the customer asked, the leadership asked, maybe the finance team asked. It's just a work, like it's an endless work. And we need to make sure we are, again, and this is focus. So we need to make sure that we are choosing and building a tech stack that will also help us to generate metrics like in a second. So, and we have these tools, we have now like, and this is where I see it. And I remember that in the past year or 2 years, like tons of founders reached out to me and said, like, we have a RevOps tool. And then I said, okay, but what are you doing? I don't care about sequences. Like, I care about sequences. I care about everything, but I don't care. Like, this is something that it's good. We're going to bring it to the SDRs, to the AEs, to I don't know, even CSM, if they want like to automate one of their processes based on their like playbooks, right? But what we need is to help them to understand how they're doing right now, or how their customers are doing right now. Because again, you need to be proactive and sometimes even reactive, right? And we need to focus. So if our target is pipe generation, and we want to make sure that we're going to hit the targets as a company, as a team, as an IC, like you need to have like an instant answer, right? So, and this is where I see the tech stack is going, and I'm trying it myself. And I tried, for example, an SDR AI solution, and I realized that it's not going to solve the problem. You cannot replace a person with an AI, right? But what you can do with AI, you can help and support the team on the back end, right? Like on the back office, you can give them like more support and insights that can be translated to their language as well, because everyone, like, we speak the same language, but we use it differently, right? So, and we need to make sure that everyone, like we can provide this service fast, easy, and and in the best way we can.
Yeah. So there's a few things I want to pick up based on what you say. And so if we talk about the talent management, with all that you say with AI and having that clear focus for using the data for decision making, the team is, as you say, not necessarily going to be replaced, but it's going to look different. They need different competencies and skills going forward. Yeah. So it's about identifying when you've got a clear understanding of the need going forward, which is what we would do for our customers. You also need to reevaluate your team and understand who has not only the skill set now, but in terms of where we're going, our track and what our needs are, not just now, but going forward. With the pandemic, we know that we're selling in a different way. There's a different focus, there's a different skill set, but that's going to continue, and it's continuing to accelerate. What are the needs for that team? Because that team, we will not be replaced necessarily by AI, but it will be smaller, it will be more concise, it will look differently, and so different skill sets are required. I mean, this is why I use Scale, which is sales assessment, to actually look at the competencies, because mindset, having the will to sell, understanding relationships and how you can communicate better, active listening, there's all of these things that 5 years ago weren't quite so important, but when you're working online, you have to pick up on certain different clues. So so this is what I think that we need to be aware of, that the competencies in the team, not only the sales stack and our evaluation of that, but the team also needs to evolve and change.
I agree. I think it's not, it's what AI and tools, what they do, some can replace like human beings, right? And can resize the team and the headcount. But I think this is efficiency. And the problem, as I think, as I felt it like in the past, is, when every time you have a problem, boom, you hire someone, right? And then you increase the team. But it didn't solve the problem. You just had a problem, right? Instead of solving it, you hired someone, instead of just stopping for a second and say, okay, and then just analyze. And like, is it a process problem? It's a tool problem, or it's maybe methodology. Maybe you hired people that are not in the right profile, right? And you need to, and you need to reassess like the profiling system of your reps and understand exactly what is the recipe for success in hiring an account executive, right? Or an SDR, or a sales engineer, solution engineer, right? You need like, and this is, and again, AI, I don't think eventually AI will replace. They would just allow you to be efficient and not just use the word and say, yeah, we are now like the investors, the VCs told us that we need to drive efficiency across the board through all the organization. We need to do this, and this. Let's implement like OKR methodology. Let's take this, like start measuring, I don't know, teams. Let's like investigate the KPIs progress, right, etc., etc. But yet again, you're not solving the problem. So I think the tools, or at least sometimes, and this is what I do again as an operational excellence function, is even when you bring a tool, I'm not just bringing a tool just to bring the tool. I'm not bringing like a specific sequence management tool, like because like I know the logo, or because it's very, very like it's well recommended by tons of companies and I use it in past. No, I'm trying to replace them with tools that first would be maybe more like cheaper, right? Second, might have the functionalities to actually support the team and like increase efficiency in a way that like AI, like personalized emails, personalized sequences, right? And not just spraying and praying that someone will answer and book a meeting, right? So, and I think this is how you also optimize the tech stack, and you're not just asking for a $1 million tech stack budget, right? And then you bring all the high profiled logos. Again, all of them are great, but you need to also assess where like the stage you are within like like the organization, like the company stage, if it fits or not fits, how complexity it will create internally. And also, like you have the people, like are you like, do you have the right people? Do you have the right tools to support these people? And if not, you need to understand it's sometimes the tool, it's not a solution. Sometimes you just need to, again, to evaluate the headcount profile, right? Or the
Yeah.
team profile,
Yeah.
evaluate the process, and then, build something that will help you drive success.
Excellent. Okay. So the other aspect I wanted to pick up on from what you said previously was really explaining the alignment of the GTM motion around the buying committee's journey and not your internal process. So explain to me about that.
So as I see it, and again, at the beginning of my career, actually, I started as a marketeer, and then I moved and shifted into sales operations, sales and marketing operations, and revenue operations the past, I think, few years, and built some teams, right? And I remember that back like 10 years ago, or even more, 15 years ago, like we were focused on sales, right? Like sales is king, new logos are king. We need to invest tons of money, budgets, tools, whatever. Like we need to hire the best, like 30, 40 AEs to reach the targets. We'll pay commission, and it's just, like it was like a jungle. And but sales, like the buyer process was like the high priority, and what drove company not just to success but also to hyper growth, right? As I see it, is, and usually I implement like the bow tie methodology and ABX, right? It's more of you're focused on the customers, and again, like a pre-customer and post-customer, right? So it's like it's a customer journey, because you start from the top of the funnel, from the beginning, from marketing initiatives or prospecting initiatives. You build a relationship, you try to understand the ICP, and then you move forward within the pipeline, right? And again, you have the milestones within it, and you shift from one step to the other, and then when you won the deal, that's great, but it doesn't end there, right? You have now the full, like the customers milestones, right, for success. Like you have the onboarding, you have the ongoing, you have the support, everything that makes sure that we are maintaining still a great relationship, so the customer will keep, not just renew the subscription, right, and use our product and solution, also even upsell, right? So you always, like, again, it's not just the buyer. Once they bought, they're hooked, right? They are now using our solution. We need to make sure that we are doing everything we can, not just to keep them a customer, but also grow with them, right? So, and they want to grow with you as a company. So, and this is why I call it the customer journey. My expertise is to build a 360 customer overview, because I'm not just building like the sales process. It's not just start and end there. I also make sure, or I support the team, or my team, we support the organization, the go-to-market organization, understand exactly how each team can collaborate with anyone or everyone, right, to generate and contribute to the growth. And again, it's not just hands with the pre-sale and post-sale, it's also like marketing and customer success, right? How you leverage your customers to replicate your success.
And I love that. We certainly in Scale Your Sales framework focus on customer-led growth, customer-centric sales, and looking at the entire customer journey, and really kind of realigning the selling processes to the customer journey and where they're at. So I really love this approach. And so I'd like to go on to kind of talk to you about sharing a unique and unexpected strategy. And I'm particularly thinking about mutual evaluation plans that, enabled buyers to engage and purchase with ease. So tell me more about how you use mutual evaluation plans.
Do you mean between like the company and the customers, like, or how do you, or within the organization between one team with the other?
How you use it to enable buyers to
A buyer.
engage and to purchase with ease.
Okay, I thought, okay, yeah. So it's a piece, right? So we are doing it like in like several motions, um, but with like from an operational perspective, like and how we measure it's we try to define a process that will make sure that we understand first internally how to in like how to manage or how to work with a buyer like in the best way, right? Like how understand exactly, from the beginning, not just the pain, but the time and projects, stuff like that. Like we want to understand exactly like how we can win the deal, right? And fast. Again, we do have ICP, we do have other metrics that we take under consideration, like average sales cycle and stuff like that. But um, we're trying to gather as much information as we can from the beginning, to make sure that we are, if we are, let's say, let's go to the negative. If we are losing a deal, it's not because we did bad. It's because we had a competition, right? Eventually, how I see it, usually when I join a company, just as a side note, I usually try to understand the lost opportunities, right? Why we're losing business, why we're not like what happens, what is wrong, what we're doing wrong. Is it the team? Is it the process? Is it the product, right? And I think eventually, like how we evaluate and how we are making sure that, and I hope that I answer your question, right? But um, we are trying to make sure and like, or we're trying to emphasize internally and externally that we need to understand and we need to make sure exactly what the company needs, and not just the ROI, but also what is the value that we're gonna put on the table for a buyer, for the customer, right? From the beginning, to make sure that they're locked and they understand that they can live without it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Excellent, excellent. I think it's really interesting focusing on, what is the thing, the real value that the customer's going to engage with. Let me ask you, what one personal value or belief has helped to shape your leadership journey and professional success?
That's a good question. I think that first, I really love what I do, but not just in a way, when I was younger, I always said that, I was very eager, and every time when you're doing it so many times, sometimes, it's just, it's like you feel it's repetitive, right? But I think for me, it's also, I see the impact. But again, like the impact that we can bring to a company can be huge, but that depends on leadership. That depends mainly on the founders and how much like they understand not just the importance of this position, but also how like if they realize how critical we are for not just the go-to-market organization, but to the company itself. Because we're not just collaborating with marketing, sales, and customer success. We are also collaborating with finance, with product, with R&D, and everyone that is somehow related, right, to either directly to the customers or on the back office. And and again, I think what drove me to where I am right now, and to be a leader in this domain, is because maybe I saw it too early, right, before the whole ecosystem. But again, the the huge amount of value that we bring to the table, and how, and you need to be very tough. you need to be very strong, because it's a it can transition into a very political position without you even wanting it, just because you need to be unbiased. You need to support the company and not like a specific team. You need to prioritize within like the huge backlog that you have, with all the tasks and all the the projects that you need to manage, like design, plan, manage, execute, whatever, right? And I think it's like you need to be very strong, and you need to survive. This is most of the time you're in a survival mode, unfortunately, but it is what it is. But once you do that, and you know how to say no, and you also, again, every decision or every impact that I have or made within the company, by the way, not just the go-to-market organization, but also within in the company, I always had the data. I always supported it in something that is true and real. And it was never fluff. It was never, a story. Like the story was told based on the data,
I love
based on the
that,
metric.
because it brings us back around for full circle,
Correct.
on the data, and it's interesting what you say about being in the survival mode. You've got to love what you're doing if you're in survival mode.
That's
So I
yeah.
love it, absolutely. How can listeners get hold of you, Leore?
LinkedIn. I'm very, very, very like high profile there, so you can go, you can ask me, you can connect with me. I approve everyone. I'm very, very active there and reactive, so, and you can write, like text me, write me. I'm yeah, and we can chat. And I also, I have like I post some of my 2 cents every now and then, and I have a blog, so you can find it like there as well. So
Excellent.
yeah, LinkedIn
Yeah.
is the best way, the best platform
Lovely,
for me.
lovely. I'm sure lots of people will connect with you and want to have a conversation with you. So thank you so much for being a guest on Scale Your Sales podcast, Leore Spira.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I truly appreciate it. And yeah, and I think, sales is great. Working together and collaborating cross-functional. And I think this is like you can be a great sales organization, but you can also be awesome, if you just, collaborate with everyone, and also, follow the process, follow the metrics. And I think this is, yeah. And you see how the ecosystem is changing.
Yeah, and I can see how much you love it as well. So thank you. If you enjoy this episode of Scale Your Sales podcast, explore other episodes of insightful guest conversations or watch the caption show on YouTube. Remember to subscribe so you never miss an episode filled with strategies to help you scale your sales. I love to hear your thoughts, so please share your views and leave a review on iTunes. It helps us reach more revenue generators just like you. So until next time, keep scaling your sales.